Good afternoon, this is Craig again with ICT. I'm going to be showing you how to replace the stacker motor in the TAO-A, TAO-V, and LX7 bill acceptors. Let me go ahead and change over to my lower camera so you can see what we're working with. Alright, so usually you're going to be changing your TAO stacker motor when it's not working. It's not going to be pushing the bills in the cash box, or you running the test tool and it's reports back with stacker error. That could be a motor issue. Another time when you see a stacker issue in the test tool, or you are getting a 5 flash error on the front of the bezel lights, there's a little slider. Not sure how good this will be able to pick it up, but right where my finger is, there's a little hole. Apologies for the focus. Open up the box and show you a different angle there. So if you look in the back of the box, you can see there's a spring kind of up there at the top with a little black piece at the top of that. What happens is sometimes this spring becomes dislodged if you're reaching in too far or going too deep trying to retrieve the bills. And what that spring does, it activates or moves a little slider in that hole that I was mentioning just previously. And that hole will line up with the little optic gate in between these two posts. So this is one of the ways that the TAO and LX7 will sense a cash box is attached. Secondly, these two little holes will coincide with these two holes on the cash box. And what that is, it's basically a infrared beam that gets transmitted from the TAO directly into the cash box. It mirrors back and is received in the lower hole. That's also a way that the TAO and LX7 verifies the cash box is on there. Now, I know the LX7 and TAO are obviously different units, but in the terms of repair and mechanics, the only main difference is the color of the plastic. So all the housings are going to be pretty much the same. There are different internal main boards, such as CPU, LED, and the sensor board that are going to be different, but most of the housings, moldings, plastics, etc. are going to be interchangeable between the two. Aside from the color. Obviously, if you're fixing an LX7, you don't want to use a TAO bezel or a housing. While it might fit, it's going to look really weird. So it's best to stay with the same, model series parts if and when available. So let's go ahead and start getting this open. Like I mentioned, this is going to be the stacker motor replacement, which can be accessed by removing the mainboard, bezel, and CPU cover. So let's go ahead and do that now. Alright. With those 4 screws removed at the bottom here, one here, and one at the top. The main board will come out, and it will be kind of hung up. There are some cables you have to unplug, so this one right here next to the switch bank, that's going to be your stacker motor. And undo your LED harness from the housing, give you a little bit more slack. Flat cable, drive motor, and I usually keep the LED harness attached to the LED sensor tray. We just take this out as a complete unit and just set that aside. So what you're left now is just the main base and the motors. To remove the stacker motor, looking straight on, you can see your 2 motors here. So the stacker motor here does have a fairly sizable gearbox on itself. I already have a replacement here for you. So this is the stacker motor. Like I just said, it has its own gearbox in the back here that activates the arms. A little bit more different than our 6 series motors or even our 7 series motors. So these would be applicable to the TAO and LX7. So to remove the stacker motor, there are some clips that are there for wire management that would need to be undone. Let me see if I can prop this up here and use a pointer. So right here there is one hook clip that you would just need to run your wires underneath and out so they'll free. But there's also one kind of hidden underneath this stacker arm assembly. So I'll try and point that out as I'm removing those and give a bit more details on how to more safely remove those without messing up your motor lines. So first off, let's go ahead and get those wires out. As you can see, we just unclip that from that little hook, and then they will be free on the one side. Now to get to the second side, you would have to flip the unit over and remove these 3 Phillips head screws. It's not glare. Yeah, these 3 that basically screw into the bottom of the new motor housing gearbox. So let's go ahead and get that out. And with the last screw out, the motor will just kind of hang in there. Shouldn't fall out because it's still being held in by that other wire securement I'm mentioning. So let's try to put this back here. And you should be able to lift out the motor slightly and kind of tilt it, which will give you more access to that lower hook and allow you to free the motor. So since I have that out, Let me see if I can show you those hooks a little bit more clearly since it's unobstructed now. Problem is with this black plastic, it doesn't make very good recording, unfortunately, for glare. But there's going to be the one clip here, and then the next one is right next to it here, that the red wire would go under, and then both the black and red would be tied under this one to that keeps the wires out of the raster. So when that's spinning, it keeps it free. Alright, so get your new motor, and let's go ahead and get that one installed. Installation is basically this opposite of removal. A lot of people have difficulty getting their motor hooked up on the arm. I usually get that on there first, and then lower the back end in first, and then maneuver the red wire down under that first clip. Let me see if I can focus. Have some light. There we go. So that clip right above that screw is tying under that red wire, and then moving straight across. Moving straight across, you want to get that those wires tucked under that second hook to keep them out, like I mentioned, so the raster can spin and not bind up on anything. So flip that back over, fix the focus here. You're going to install those 3 screws back again, the ones that are moved from the first motor. Install the drive motor back on the board, the flat cable, and your new stacker motor that you just installed. The new stacker motor, the wires aren't going to want to sit naturally. With some simple persuasion, they can just be folded up and around. And as long as your board is laying flush, there shouldn't be any problems. Just for the sake of the demonstration, there's much more that we can put back on, but we'll just show you that the stacker motor does in fact actually work now. be going over how to replace the drive motor in these units if necessary. That usually doesn't go bad fairly often. I've seen the stacker motor go bad the majority of the time. Maybe 1 times out of 10 you would have a drive motor failure. So we will go over the drive motor replacement, which is a little bit more in depth since there is a smaller gearbox that does need to be disassembled, but we will go over that at a later time. Thank you and have a good day.